Welcome to the stage. We've got the director, Scott Elliott. Hi. And actors, yes, actors. Yay! Actors Annapurna Sriram, said that correctly, yes, and Matthew Broderick, and of course, actor, playwright Wallace Shawn. So I actually want to start out reading a quote from Zachary Stewart from Theater Mania. Evening at the Talk House isn't really a disturbing look at our possible near future, but our very real present. And let that sit for a second. Have you heard that?
I'm not allowed to say.
Well, I guess for the benefit of the audience, can you give a brief synopsis of the story, of what the show actually is? Okay. As the playwright?
Okay. Why me? But I'll try. Well, like everything I've written, it's actually more interesting than it sounds. It's very boring to describe, but there's a group of people put on a play in a made-up country, I suppose, 10 years earlier, and somebody has the idea to have a reunion of people who worked on the play. And so they decide they're going to meet in a club where they used to go after the show. And there's one guy who wasn't invited, but who's there anyway.
Your character.
And there are 2 people who work in the club, and there are 5 people who are getting together. And during the 10 years, a lot has happened in that country. Some of the 5 people have gone way up in the world. And, theater has kind of faded out. There isn't any theater anymore. But the writer and the main actor have gone way up in the world, working on a television show. And then 3 of the people have gone way down in the world. And the world has changed. And that's the setting of the play, I would say.
So what exactly is the Talk House then?
Well, the Talk House is a club that had seen much better days. It's in a sort of theatrical neighborhood, and as theater has declined, so has the club. It's a shell of its former self, and but they keep it going.
So the Talk House, the whole theater, Matthew Broderick's character is the playwright, and starts out the whole thing with this monologue that seemed to go forever. I didn't know if the whole show was going to be a monologue, which I was like, that was just amazing. Props to you for remembering all of that.
More or less.
Yeah. Do you ever screw up the lines every night? And does Wallace come and beat you with a hammer?
No, he doesn't beat me with a hammer, but I pretty much don't screw up the monologue. I'll miss a few words or a few sentences. The first couple of times, I definitely had to stop a few times, but and Wally is sitting as it's staged right next to me, or very near me. Mm-hmm. The writer is right there, so you're trying to say it properly. And I always have in my head that if I got very mixed up, I would just turn to Wally. He knows this, and then he will tell me what's next.
Has that ever happened?
No. Not so far. Don't make it happen by talking about it.
No.
But,
it's in here, so the energy stays here.
It's 11 pages of without anybody else talking, so it takes a while to learn.
Right, and that's about.
I wish I had this thing. Then it would be a piece of cake.
Well, this is saying it as we say it. So it's one of those
Oh,
time
it would
space
have to work in a
vortex.
slightly different way in order to.
Yeah, this is feeding me all my lines.
I
as
can't tell
said.
what's coming first, me or it.
So, getting back to getting back to the actual show, I guess. And we could talk about open captioning all day long. It's very cool. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, I guess, but I don't want to give away any spoilers. But
Well, I mean, does it matter? Because in a way, the play is.
by the time it's written, it's already happened.
The play, I don't know. I mean, the play is sold out for the last week, and it's only playing one more week, and it's sold out. So in a way, it doesn't matter.
True.
We'll do it for you right now.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll be a little more forthcoming, should I? Or
Yes,
it
go
doesn't
ahead.
matter. It
Go
doesn't
ahead.
matter. You can.
Or extend the run.
Yeah, well, that would be great. We can't do that, and when it's. I mean, one of the sad things about New York theater is, I'm not saying the play is sold out possibly for reasons that have nothing to do with anybody liking it, but it is a sad fact that a play like this. There possibly was a time when it could have moved to a somewhat bigger theater and played for another few months, and more people could have seen it. Now the economics of the New York theater make that completely impossible. You either have to, do this limited run. We've done 6 weeks, or be on Broadway, where you have to convince 1,000 people to come every night for a year or something in order to make it pay for itself, including people who wouldn't like this play. So that's a sad story. But anyway, I mean, not to be self-pitying, it's just sad. Well, it is self-pity, I guess, but the play turns out to be the world that you see in the play is quite grim, and people who read the newspaper occasionally say it reminds them of the times that we're living in, with or what Trump would like the world to be, or something like that. It has people come out saying, well, that was creepy.
So that actually got touched on a little bit, I guess. I couldn't quite figure out until I was reading up on it a little bit more afterwards if it was like a slightly different parallel universe. Like if you believe in the multiverse, if we're just like one iota over and this is just, it was got a little more creepy in one direction. Or if it was sort of a dystopian future, maybe even no less than 20 years from now. Scott, as the director, it's not exactly clear in the writing from my perspective. I don't know if you were trying to make it that way. Apologies if you did. But like from your perspective as a director, did you take the action? Did you take the flow of the show in any particular, I guess, one or the other of either present but different or future?
Well, I don't really see it as futuristic in that way. I never saw it that way. I saw it as I sort of pretended like it was today, and when little bits of information came out that sort of lets people know that it isn't today, I think it creates. It makes everybody that's watching it feel that quite possibly it could be tomorrow. And that's sort of the take that I had on it. And as far as hinting to the future, I made a decision to not hint to the future in any way, except for those. Well, there's a set and there's theater posters around the top of the set, and for those people who might know about that world, there's several posters that plays that have never actually happened. So that was the sort of wink to the future for people who might know that. But I sort of see the play as a, that it feels close. It felt close to me.
Right.
Yeah, considering the political, especially considering the, when we started working on it, it was right in the middle of the election and the inauguration. I mean, I think we were rehearsing during the inauguration, and but we decided to do the play quite a long time ago, and Wally wrote the play several years ago, and the fact that it felt so urgent and made it exciting and also a little creepy and scary.
Was it written for you and the new group, or?
Yes, he wrote it specifically for me. No, the play was done at the National Theatre in London first, with always the plan to do it at the new group in New York after. But he didn't. I don't think he didn't write it for a specific theater. He just wrote it, and then that was what happened. But
right.
we didn't do it in London. A whole other group did it in London, and we did it in New York. And fortunately, I think the timing of the whole thing worked out even better for us, just because of the political environment.
Did you have to change anything moving it? How was the theater different from the one here? Because the one here, you're looking down, the audience is on both sides.
Yeah, it's a completely different staging. In London, they did it on a regular stage, like what you would say is a proscenium stage. Mm-hmm. But here, we sort of made the decision or I guess I made the decision to sort of use the audience as part of the experience. I know you saw it, so you know that at the very beginning, people come in and all the actors are already on the stage, and people are having little snacks and drinks with each other to sort of warm everybody up and think everybody was in for some happy experience. And then they sit down, and it sort of starts happy, but then, the idea was sort of to make everybody feel a part of it.
I know we're dangling the carrot of all this creepiness, and they have no idea what we're talking
Exactly.
about.
And you never will.
I mean, we can.
I know. We'll get there. We got 40 minutes to fill, so we'll get there. Talking about the beginning, I came in and I was like, gummy worms and marshmallows and colored water. What was the decision behind the candy to serve people as like hors d'oeuvres to the show?
Well, I wanted everybody to have a little something, and I thought it would be nice to have something sweet, a little sweet something before the show. And, most people aren't allergic to marshmallows and gummy worms, so no peanuts allowed.
Yeah,
these
so
days.
peanuts and shellfish.
Yeah. But I thought, just to give everybody a little something, and of course there is spoilers don't matter, as you say, but somebody is poisoned in the play by drinking something that somebody on the stage, poisoned somebody, and I thought it'd be fun to have the audience have little drinks before too, and then go home and be worried that they might die. So that was the sort of idea behind it.
Well, so how did everybody then? Obviously, we know how you got connected, and Scott. It sounds like you and Wally are friends from.
We've done many shows together, and we're I think very good friends.
So Matthew and I. So AP, you want to be to be called Anna.
Easier than
AP,
Annapurna.
Okay, Annapurna, okay. AP and Matthew. How did the two of you get connected to the show?
You going first?
Do you want to go first? You can go first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll go first.
I did a show with Scott that he directed almost 2 years ago, and then it moved to London. So then I worked on the same show.
You know that Jesse and Kunal did
Yeah,
the
I did
Spoils.
The
They did
Spoils.
a
They've been on
talk
this
here as
stage,
well.
yes.
Yeah.
You might have seen it.
You weren't invited to that one.
I wasn't
You
invited
moved
to that
up
one.
in the
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
And Scott called and emailed me the script and asked me to do the role that I do in this play, which is a complete 180 from The Spoils. And I said yes, because I love Wally and I love Scott. And I
Yeah.
And now
Thank you. And now me.
Yeah, your turn.
Okay. I'm waiting to see what I'm supposed to say.
What if it says somebody else's name while you talk?
That
It's,
would
very,
be-
it's disconcerting. I said something and
Does
it
it
said
say
Matthew
my name
Broderick.
when I
but
say it?
I don't want you to have credit for
I
what
guess you guys all see
No,
this
it
a lot,
doesn't
so it's
even.
boring to talk about that. But what happened to me is I ran into Wally at Italy. It's true. We knew each other from I did a film version of a play that Wally wrote called Marie and Bruce years ago. So we knew each other. And then we were shopping, and he said he had a play. That's really what happened. And this was the London version, but I wasn't able to go to London at that point. And I believe it was also to play the part that you're now playing.
Yes.
And I stressed and stressed, but I couldn't figure out how to go to England. And then, fortunately, however much later, it got done here. And then it was a different part, and it was Scott, who I knew also from before. And I love both of them, and then you too. And,
There's
But
so
I
much
mean-
love on the stage.
I
right now.
love you.
I love all of you. That's why you're all here.
It's very
I
Google.
love Google.
Very Google.
Google Docs, I like.
Gmail.
Gmail is
Yeah, I love
excellent.
Gmail.
We have a little search engine too. Maybe you used it.
I don't
Yahoo.
like that part.
Yeah.
Wally, did you intend on playing Dick, or did you just want to write it and walk away? And
No, I planned to write it and walk away. And I mean, this is a question for Scott, really, but, well, Matthew and three other very good people turned down my part in London. And we were, so there was a kind of we couldn't cast the part in London. So the director asked me to do it. And I really didn't want to be in the play because there's a kind of dignity involved in not being, in being able to say, oh yes, I wrote that play, those other people are doing it. There's a kind of, I feel that if I am involved, it's as if somehow, I don't know quite how to put it, it's a feeling that nobody but my mother would come to see it, or that I have to be in it in order to sort of push it along, because a group of people who are not me would not really want to do it. So I find it embarrassing to be in my own play, and I had hoped on this occasion to not be in it. But I think Scott felt he must be in it because I'm going to change him. I'm going to make him into a better actor of the kind that I approve of. And this strangely did happen in a way. The response, a lot of people have said to me, in effect, I think that was a very good performance. I think you actually were all right as an actor. And so I think that's why I'm in it on this occasion.
Yeah, me too. So Scott could make me better.
It is, because again, I said I don't want to be in it. But in this case, we didn't audition anybody else. He said, no, you have to be in it.
did you audition the rest of the roles too? Or
No, the interesting thing about this play is we had no auditions, and the people, except for Annapurna, that's what I call AP. Except for Annapurna, all of the people in the play are people who really have logged many decades, or in that strange phrase, they've devoted their life to theater. So because the play is about people involved with theater, and I think Scott wanted it to have a certain authenticity and a certain knowledge behind it, so that in a way, the play could be about a group of people working at Google who meet 10 years later. It's not really, in some way, the political story is not really related necessarily to there being actors, but the play has a certain, it's a better play probably because I know something about theater, whereas I don't know anything about working at Google. So it was great then to get a group of people together who all have been in those particular circumstances.
So I guess, AP, being the one without the decades of experience, did you approach your character any differently than than the other actors did, or are you just sitting back and feeling the love and absorbing from their wiseness?
Well, I don't really know how everyone else approached their character to know if I did it any differently. I have sort of a stranger part because I don't really talk. I'm the waitress at the talk house.
I think you actually served me my water.
Yeah, and I'm one of the the servants in the beginning when people walk in and I'm serving them, and most people I don't think even think I'm in the show, so I think they think I'm just an usher or something, and they usually ask me where their seats are, and and then they'll move on to Wally or Matthew and talk to them about them. So and then my character for the first hour of the show is I'm just making drinks for the people at the party, and I'm bringing out food and then clearing food off the table. I'm really just being a waitress. And then it isn't until about, an hour in that I'm actually sort of invited to join the discussion or join the party. And should I reveal more? Okay, so then it's sort of revealed that my character had been working can I tell some of the plot points? Okay, so there's this sort of discussion about this kind of like droning, but they call it targeting in the world that the play is set in. And there's a heated sort of political discussion about how people feel about targeting and who does targeting, and it's people do targeting as a part-time job if they need some extra money. And then, so when I finally come in, I'm like a failed actor, and it's revealed that I had been working as a murderer after I was sort of a failed actor in this 10-year gap, because I had been a waitress at the place, and then in that 10-year gap, I was a failed actor, and then I worked as a murderer, and now I'm back being a waitress. And
the natural progression.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of this is too close to home. So I think that, so I have sort of a different perspective than everyone else, because all the other people are older and had more success, or are sort of able to ignore or not be as affected by the change of society, which involves a lot more murdering and droning and targeted assassination.
It's sport now, essentially.
Yeah, it's kind of like like video game, but it's you can get paid by the government to do it. That's how I imagine it sort of is. So I think I have just a different head mindset about it all and point of view about it all, where I'm actually emotionally affected by it, whereas no one else seems to really be affected by it. having a conscience about it. So I don't know if that answered your question. I don't even, but that's.
Yes? Yeah, I think so. No, it was just interesting to me because I was wondering, I guess specifically that a lot of actors, they'll especially like for deeper roles and sort of darker backgrounds, they'll let it affect them and they'll get a little bit, sort of in real life, they'll get a little depressed. And I mean, kind of, Heath Ledger is sort of an extreme of that, right? But being that your character does go to a pretty dark place near the end, did you do anything differently, or does that carry across at all into your real life?
I don't know. I mean, probably. I don't know. I mean, I definitely think about things that really are happening, you know, and that are perfectly real, that affect me in my real life, that I sort of equate as equivalent to what this person is feeling, whether it's police brutality or the death penalty, or whatever it might be. And that, so I don't know, I sort of think that I'm already affected by it anyways in my day-to-day life.
Fair.
Emotionally, so I just
Yeah.
have a different place to put it, I guess.
You've got an actual outlet, right?
Yeah.
I want to go back a second to you're saying that people kind of skip over you, thinking that you're just part of the house staff.
Yeah.
Do they ever go? Does the audience ever go? Wally, they go up to you, or Matthew, they go up to you. They're like, "Oh yeah, I loved you in that movie. Was it Lion King 2? You were the voice of Simba. Loved you. That was
Yeah.
great, right?"
And like Lion King 1 and 2.
Oh yeah.
He was the king. He played the king.
Played the king. I played adult Simba.
Which is true. Yeah, do they go up and they try to? Are you in character talking to them, or are you just yourself?
It's we're you can't be in character really. People do exactly what you said all the time, and so I don't know. I mean, I could say, "What are you talking about? I've never heard of that movie. It's an alternate reality." I would like to do that in a way, because it might be good for the show, but I find it slightly uncomfortable to talk to. To talk to strangers is always a little odd, but fine. But particularly when you're in a costume about to start a show, you're not quite sure. You're trying to think about the, in my case, monologue that I have coming up. So it's always a little bit. I don't want to get too involved in discussing, what some other job that I did, and then pop right into this. So I sort of try to stay a little bit removed from it. But we all do it differently. You just get served them.
Well, yeah, and tell people where their seats are probably.
Do you know? So you know where all the
I've
seats
learned
are?
it at this
Yeah.
point now. I know because so many people have asked.
It's
But Wally has a cool
he's
thing,
very good
'cause
at it. He talks
Yeah.
to people.
He goes in the audience. That's
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have done this for a few decades. Talking to the audience before the play is something I've done at least since 1990 or so. So I'm kind of well, I've always liked to talk to strangers, and I mean, I grew up in New York, and just to show you how New York has changed, my parents were very, very, very protective of me for that time, but were not frightened by the fact that I would go into Central Park and just go up to strangers and ask them questions and talk to them. That was considered not dangerous.
Back in the day.
So yes, I do. I mean, I'm not any better at it than anybody else. I mean, I'm quite awkward and sort of ask dumb questions like, I don't know, where are you from?
Do they grumble like that all the time too?
Is that the voice you use for it?
The ogre's coming.
But you have an interesting thing because your face is all bruised because he has bruise makeup on because he's beaten up. He's on his last leg, we'll say.
Yeah, I've been beaten up.
And so it's interesting. I've seen you say to some of people in the audience that you might know, oh, "This is makeup." You'll say,
Yeah.
Some people think it's real. Yeah.
Well, I'm more surprised that more people aren't alarmed by it. But yes, and if the other person is good at having a conversation, then we have an interesting conversation. And I am quite fascinated by the fact that I could write something and somebody else. I'm fascinated if they do understand it or if they don't. They're both are fascinating to me, and the mystery of being able to communicate through a play is fascinating to me. So I'm very interested in who these people are, and also they're always not remotely the way you think they're going to be when you sort of see them and you go up and start talking to them. It's very interesting.
So I'm going to pause there for a second. If any of you in the audience have questions, we have 2 microphones, so please go and use the mics. We get it on the recording. And I want to come back to what you were saying, though. Do any of the 4 of you ever get feedback after the fact coming up in either one or the other of what you were just saying, of people saying, that was amazing, I totally get it, I know what you're going for, or other people just being like, holy crap, what did I just watch? Like, do you get either of those at all? What's your weirdest feedback?
So I'm younger, and my friends who are all in my peer group, in their like 20s and 30s who come and see it, have all across the board gotten it, loved it, and I think, when my grandparents came, there was a little bit more confusion. Even when my parents came, there were more questions, but I kind of feel like, and I don't mean to be ageist, but I do kind of think what I've observed is that younger people seem to grasp the absurdity and the message and understand it all really clearly. And the villain, I think, which is this sort of older, complacent person of privilege, which is a lot of what the audience is, I think they sometimes grapple more with what they just watched, if that makes any sense.
And certainly the same play in England, which had a more an older, more suburban audience, they don't come up to me and say things, but my friends who were in the audience have said that there was a lot of, what was the point of that? Which is what people have said about my plays, really for my whole life. It's that's very natural to me, but this audience that's come has been remarkably responsive to this. That's largely because Scott has built up an audience for his theater over many, many years, and they're into it, or they're ready to
take whatever you give them.
Well, you can say what's the point of that about absolutely anything if you're not making the commitment to try to crawl inside it and see what might be there.
Scott, he said, you built up the audience. What he's referring to is that you are also not only the director of this show, but the artistic director of the whole theater, the whole new group. What is the difference between directing and artistic directing?
oh, it's fabulous because I don't have to answer to anybody. It's my own thing. I can do whatever I want. But I think that, artistic directing is essentially producing. You figure out, what, and I often think about what's going on in the world before I make the choices, because our audience, the New Group audience, as Wally said, is I think they're a pretty with it audience, and I would even say that our older audiences have been with us for a really long time, and they're really sort of I call them like Peter Pans. They're not cranky old people. They're people who are actually interested in engaging and interesting work and discussing it and. So I think that the New Group has become sort of continues to be new. It's sort of like the young theater still in town. People often say to me, I mean, we've been around now 21 years, but people often say to me, oh yeah, 5 years you've been doing this or whatever. They think that because of the work that we do that we're very contemporary, and that's always sort of been the goal of. It's been my goal to sort of never go stale because I've watched some of my peers sort of struggle with that. And so our audiences are pretty engaged. They're not coming to fall asleep. They're coming to be engaged. They're good listeners, which I think is so important. And I think one of the things that hurts the world in general is people are not necessarily good listeners. There's a lot of
Well, there's a lot of looking down and.
Well, there's a
being
lot of
on
listen
your-
down and
on
just
your
sort of
targeting
like
device.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, but when you come to a New Group show, even if it's a comedy, you have to listen and engage.
So now that it's open, what are you working on? Now that this is open and almost closed, what are you working on?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, we have another play running called All the Fine Boys with Abigail Breslin, which is just opened, and I'm prepping. I'm going to direct the show after that. This play called The Whirligig by another actor playwright, Hamish Linkletter. But he's not going to be in it. That's going to be Norbert Leo Butts and Sasha Mamet and a whole other group of people. Yeah, and then and then I'm planning next year. That's sort of what I'm doing right now, just sort of figuring out the shows that we're going to do next year, and we'll be announcing those in a few weeks.
There've been a lot of actor playwright, like that theme seems to be recurring among it's a group of friends. Everybody here is now friends and in love with each other. But do you prefer, you personally, do you prefer writing or acting, or I mean, how did your career begin? Because you've got credits out all of you do. I mean, you've got credits out the wazoo from both, but.
Well, I started as a writer, and really a director, now deceased, called Wilfred Leach, had asked me to be in the play, even though he knew I was a writer, and I had no plan really for how I was going to make a living. I was just writing avant-garde plays and going into debt to friends, basically. And slowly realizing that was a poor plan for the future. And I was sort of saved by getting that acting job and sort of finding that it seemed at first that my acting was less avant-garde than my writing. I mean, that it was more likable. Then in later years, it's turned out to be basically the same. I mean, that I'm an avant-garde actor, apparently, or at least not, most people don't. I can't get a job, is the point I'm saying. But there's someone.
Yes,
that's not true.
I was waiting for you to finish. Yeah, question over here.
Yeah. First, so Wallace, I got the fortune to see your play.
Oh my God!
And it was amazing. Like, just I had no idea what it was going to be like, and it was fantastic. AP, I have a question for you, And Matthew, I have a stupid story for you.
Like
Yes.
So real quick, my boyfriend and I were at a restaurant, I don't know, like a year ago, and you and your lovely family were there, and we played it super cool, acted like it wasn't a big deal, but like I was freaking out. And then when I went to the bathroom, it was one of those cool like stalls in the sink and stuff, so everybody uses the same bathroom.
Right.
A unisex bathroom, I think, is the term. And when I opened the door, you were standing right in front of me, and I did this. And I just walked by. And that's a stupid story, and it doesn't matter. But then when I went to the play, we also got tickets to the opening show. We were at the opening. It was, and my boyfriend made me promise I wouldn't tell you that story because it's not a story.
Right.
And I didn't tell you that story that night, and now I have, and I feel like I've won. Okay.
Good for you.
So, and also you did a great job, and thank you very much. I really enjoyed your monologue and everything. But AP, you were my favorite, the whole thing.
Aw.
That's not nice.
Like, but, slightly favorite. Very close.
No, I could be the favorite. It's
Okay, good. 'Cause you were. You just captured such a complex character with so many emotions, and I just want to know, how did you get into the depression that your character expresses, and what did that feel like to switch like that? Because you seem fine, and then you're like clearly disturbed, and like, what was that swing like?
It's probably just what I'm like. I don't know. I don't know. I just equate it to things that I'm really disturbed by already, and I am a pretty sensitive person in general. That's something that my boyfriend tells me a lot. That I like cry about a lot of things. That like you don't need to be that affected by. I have no idea though. Like I don't even I don't even know why Scott I don't even think I can do the play sometimes. I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this, and like if I can do it, but
So you've got imposter syndrome. You'd fit in really well at Google.
is that right?
I think that
Scary. I don't know. I don't know. I feel very embarrassed right now. I don't know. I think it's pretty important and pretty heavy if you want to think of it that way, and if you do, then you can like really let yourself embrace all the fucked up shit that is our society or our world, and I guess that's it. I don't know.
Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank
and
you.
Wallace, again. My boyfriend would be mad to be here. He's just so
Was he
excited about you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So hi, thanks for coming. I feel really sad that it seems like I won't be able to get to experience the show, and get to see it. It sounds like, in this world that this is a very relevant show for kind of like New Yorkers and Americans, and kind of just picturing it in the context of the current political climate. When you guys did the show in London, was there actually a difference of reaction with the audience members? Because you guys get a chance to, kind of talk to people, it sounds like, during the show. Was there kind of a difference in reaction from the London audience versus the kind of how like a New York American audience is interpreting it?
Well, yes, I mean, the play, the script was well, some people have said even that I have written other plays that they were annoyed to see had the same anxieties expressed in them. And for some reason, I know among even my own acquaintances that there are certain people who have been pushed over a certain edge by Trump to almost say to me, wow, the the things that you've been so stupidly, boringly saying for decades, and I thought you were being overly hysterical. I can't deny that you were onto something. Things were not okay in the way that I thought. I mean, people haven't put it in exactly those words, but pretty close. I mean, and weirdly, the London audience was it was pre-Brexit and pre-Trump. So there was this ability to sort of pretend that it was about nothing, and why were we watching it? Whereas virtually nobody in America is saying that. Certainly in New York, nobody is saying everything is fine and it's all going to be great, and why are you upset? So that's just chance. I mean, maybe if we'd done the play a year earlier, that would have been the response. I don't know.
Thank you.
Another question?
Hi, I have a question for Wally. Well, first I want to say that thank you so much for My Dinner with Andre. It's one of the most wonderful movies that I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, thank you. But my question was sort of, I guess, related to that, in that you have kind of, with that being a major exception, you kind of have these two parallel kind of trajectories as being like an actor in films and like a playwright as kind of writing for theater. Like you haven't done much writing for film, right? And I was kind of curious if that was something that you ever been tempted to explore, kind of being involved in the world of movies, and whether maybe the primary reason you haven't done so is more related to actually the form of the theater, or different expectations of the audiences. I just wonder if you could speak to that a little bit.
Well, this play is does include quite a bit about show business that is based on my having hung around in the movie and TV world. There's quite a bit in the play that reflects that, really. I mean, the theater and movies, it is a very different, well, I'm not in movies anymore because nobody would hire me, but I'm occasionally in television. Yeah, it's a different universe because people are being paid to be, on television. And it's I don't know, people walk into the room with a smile on their face in a certain sense because of that check that they have received. There's a fundamental seriousness to theater because people are not paid, I suppose. I don't know.
Well, but your writing is like My Dinner with Andre could be a play. Because it's so written, it has like, the writing is so gorgeous. And in movies, the image drives, the writing and the image drive it. And so I think it's so hard to write a play. It's the hardest thing to write, I think. Writing movies is, there are programs that can help you through that. But writing a play, you have to have the skill of being able to get everything across in the words, and I think it's hard. I think it's harder than writing a novel, I've never even attempted it because I find it so intimidating, but I have dashed off a couple of screen things, I have to say. So, and it's a little bit easier. And also movies are very collaborative in that way, and plays are very, very, very much about what the playwright is saying and what the playwright has written. In movies they throw out scene if they feel like it.
If you do it badly, do it again or change the line
Exactly.
or whatever. Yeah.
You can cut around it.
Have you ever written something directly for the screen?
No. I've just. I'm too afraid it would never be made, and that would upset me so much. I've wanted to. I still would like to, but
We should all produce in this room. We will produce. If you write it, I'm speaking for all of you. We will produce this film. There you go. You got budget, and you got director,
You can be in it.
and you got
You got actors. You got. It's all
I mean,
here.
no one will hire me.
That's right. All right, go. Everybody, give him a round of applause. Thank you.